incredible legend named Mark Hamill. He did the voice of the Joker, answering my phone for me. And I think what he did with that voice is, to me, as iconic as it gets. He's in the basement. I should know. I bound and gagged him there. That's what it goes like. And then he just laughs and cackles, and it's very loud and obnoxious, and I love it, and I'll never delete it.
Hey, I'm Aaron Couch with The Hollywood Reporter here at San Diego Comic-Con with actor and comic book writer David Dastmalchian. How are you doing?
Amazing. This is day 3 for me of San Diego Comic-Con 2024, and it has been literally like one mind-blowing experience after the next.
What I love about what you are doing here this year is obviously you've been in a lot of movies, very busy actor, but this convention actually started as a comic book convention, and you have many, many comic books that you're kind of ready to unveil to the world. I mean, what are just a few of them? I know there are probably too many to mention, but what are a few that you're here kind of talking about?
And thank you for saying that. It is a huge honor for me that I'm now part of the comic book publishing world, and it's a dream of mine come true. I've been doing Count Crowley for Dark Horse for several years. We've got a new volume in trade paperback form coming soon for Volume 3. I'm also writing a new series for DC Comics. I get to helm their Creature Commandos series, which I'm so excited about. And then Todd McFarlane's been overseeing a project that I wrote and created and is about to come out from Image called Knights vs. Samurai. Also got to do some horror panels for some of the one-shots I've been doing for Dark Horse, DC, and other publishers. So it's a really exciting, crazy nerdvana time for me.
It's quite a a next chapter for you, because one story I love that you've told, you were a nervous kind of first-time comic book writer on the set of The Suicide Squad, and you would deliver the first issues of Count Crowley to Margot Robbie, who's also a big comic book geek, and kind of wait to see what she's thought about it. And then I think out of the blue, what happened? She tweeted something about it, or what?
Yes.
That's how you found out she liked it, or what?
I was with my wife Eve at, I want to say, an Applebee's in Georgia near where we were filming The Suicide Squad, and all of a sudden my phone blew up, and they were like, "Oh my gosh, look at what's going on!" And Margot had tweeted when she was still on Twitter or whatever it's called now. I just read Count Crowley, and I love it, it's crazy. I'm very lucky. James has been a big supporter and fan of my comic book creations, and he wore a Count Crowley shirt the last day of filming on my last day of filming on The Suicide Squad, and I'm surrounded by really amazing people who've been so supportive.
Yeah, it's amazing. You didn't know how people would receive this, and now what's this? 5 years later, when you're on set, or 4 years later, you have 7, 8 comics. You have a lot of comics, right?
Yeah. I think this year I have my my writing pen in the process and almost to be published somewhere between. We have 8 different comic projects that I am working on, and I'm getting to work with some of the best publishers in the world, some of the best artists in the world. I just yesterday got to be on Jim Lee's panel for DC, and then he unveiled the cover he did for my new Creature Commandos series, which we got to sign prints of. I'm sitting there in the middle of the floor at Comic-Con at the DC booth signing prints of my comics first cover with Jim Lee. It's wild.
A lot of people don't realize this. I didn't actually realize this until people like you told me. When you're on a film set, there's a lot of downtime.
True.
And how do you spend your downtime? You're writing, right?
I'm either writing or I'm watching old horror movies. I always like to set up like Shudder or one of my streaming services on my trailer and bring old Blu-rays and DVDs that I've been collecting, and I say old movies that are now transferred and have really cool 4K editions. And then I'm writing. So there's a lot of downtime. You're waiting for the next setup. You're waiting for the crew to get everything ready, and it's a patient process. And I find it to be an incredible way to pass the time, as well as to feel like I'm getting to use all this creative energy I'm taking from all the artists I'm working with and funneling it into telling a story.
Do you, when you're at home, do you have an office, a place where you keep your mementos? Are you also writing there? How much of this is done at home? How much is on set?
I love writing at home. My office is so cool. Even I have this very strange house in Los Angeles, and I've got a big open-air office that's at the top of this weird flight of stairs. It looks like it's in like an old church maybe. I don't know how to describe my house other than to say it's very weird, and it's totally us. And it's surrounded by all the old black and white glossies I've collected of Vincent Price and Christopher Lee and Lon Chaney, and then toys. I've collected monster toys and superhero toys, and then I've got just row after row of my long boxes of comics. So whenever I'm devoid of inspiration, I need a little boost, I just look around me.
Would you say, do you or your kids have more toys, would you say, at this point in your life?
Me.
Yeah, okay.
Completely.
But are they hands off for them? Or can they?
I try to be cool about it because it's like, I don't want to have everything hermetically sealed and kept away from. It's not a museum, although I get a little agitous sometimes. Like I have a spinner rack next to my work desk, and it's filled with old vintage issues of Creepy, Eerie magazine, Famous Monsters of Filmland, and once in a while I'll find an issue in like my kid's room just like creased weird or folded funny, and I'm like, but then I remember like they're just things, and they just carry such wonderful memories, and I think it's awesome that my kids would want to like peel through those pages.
I want to go back to Creature Commandos. So James Gunn, his new universe, the first thing out of there is going to be an animated show. And he's entrusting you, him and Jim Lee are entrusting you with the comic. It's unrelated, right? You kind of get to create your own take.
Yeah, James is animated. By the way, I was on the panel yesterday when they surprised us all with a bunch of footage from Creature Commandos.
Oh.
It was pretty awesome. James's series is wholly in the universe that he is building, and it is incredible. It's funny how I learned that he was making an animated series. He and I were on our way up to his bachelor getaway before he got married to Jennifer Holland, and he said, "What are you working on in the comics? How's Count Crowley going?" I said, "It's great. Guess what? I'm getting to do Creature Commandos for DC." He goes, "Look," and he had already like some animatics and footage from his animated series. I was like, "Oh my god!" And I was afraid maybe that my comic series would get canceled because it's a different Creature Commandos than what James is doing. And he said, "No, it's totally fine. It exists, and publishing is its own thing." And so mine is a very dark, dramatic horror military story about a group of disparate outcasts who have monstrous abilities that have been recruited by this doctor who really does care for them, but also is on a very, very thin razor's line between sanity and something else, and she's trying to help them find purpose in their lives, and the government may or may not be exploiting them for their abilities, and the fact that they're monsters might make it easier for them to get away with some stuff that they wouldn't maybe want, say, the Justice League to know about.
The line between the razor's line between insanity and maybe something else. That's interesting.
Or sanity and maybe
sanity.
Sanity and something. Dr. Barbara West's character I got to create for this new world, and she has just been doing all this incredible work, and she believes it's all scientifically explainable. Of course, we would look at it and say this seems a little supernatural, but she's found a cool technology that helps to activate monsters' superpowers, let's say, when they're going into battle. The problem is, once, say, a werewolf turns wolf, once a vampire goes full vampire, it's hard to control them and say they're in the field with fellow soldiers. So that is what hasn't been tested yet, and yet General Wade Eiling, who's a DC, longtime character who isn't always the most scrupulous general, he kind of pushes them into a mission that they may not be ready for, and things go a little bit sideways. They did let me get very violent, bloody, and gory with this series, so I'm excited for people to see the pages just splattered.
And you got to create a DC character. That's pretty cool.
And I get to play with DC characters. I mean, I get Zatanna. Zatara makes an appearance very soon into the story, and she becomes a really important element in the story, and other surprises.
Well, let's go into the Deadpool and Wolverine popcorn bucket.
Speaking of superheroes,
yes.
Oh boy, here we go.
So let's
okay,
do maybe 3 questions out of here.
Okay, here we go. I'm nervous. I'm reaching into Wolverine's mouth. Oh, I got something. I have very big hands. I'm sorry, Wolverine. I have very big hands. Okay. I've gotten this question since the first Ant-Man movie I did, and it's a great question, and I always choke on the answer. Okay. Sorry, this isn't going to be your favorite answer. If you could have only one superpower, what would it be? If I could have only one superpower, what would it be? I know. Every time I screw up or like get somebody's upset with me, that I could say, "I'm sorry," and then they immediately forgive me and move on. That would be a great superpower. I'm so annoyed sometimes when I want people to just move on, and they won't. Okay. Number 2. What is your all-time favorite cinematic universe? Ooh, interesting.
You've been in Marvel, the MCU.
The DCU.
Jane, the DCU.
Yeah.
So you've...
And there are many other cinematic universes as well. There's the Kaufman cinematic universe, of course, the Toxic Avengers and the, Sergeant Kabuki Man universes. But I would say my favorite thus far in the pantheon of cinema would be the MCU.
All right, last question. Let's see.
Who is the most iconic voice in an animated series that comes to mind? Well, if I had my phone on me, I would pull up my voicemail. Have you ever called my phone and gotten my voicemail?
Okay. I don't think so, no.
Well, it's...
You always pick up for me.
I do. Of course, Aaron. I see you calling. It's hello. So if you get my voicemail, my poor mother, may she rest in peace, it drove her crazy because it's very long. But I did a film called Sushi Girl when I first moved to Los Angeles, and one of the stars of that movie was an incredible legend named Mark Hamill. And since I couldn't attend the rap party or get his rap gift, he said, "What would you like?" And I said, "Would you do my voicemail for me?" So he took my phone into his trailer, and he did the voice of the Joker answering my phone for me. And I think what he did with that voice is, to me, as iconic as it gets.
I had no idea. That's incredible.
David
I'm so
can't
jealous.
come to the phone right now. He's in the basement. I should know. I bound and gagged him there.
That's what it goes like. And then he just laughs and cackles, and it's very loud and obnoxious, and I love it, and I'll never delete it.
And your late mother suffered through it to leave you
She would
messages?
listen, and she'd always go, "David, when are you going to change that message? It's so long. It hurts my ears." And I go, "Sorry, Mom. You just if I don't answer, don't stay on the phone. Text me." How does texting work? Ugh.
All right. Well, David Dastmalchian, thanks. Glad you had a good
Aaron.
Comic-Con.
Thanks, Hollywood Reporter. Thank you, Comic-Con.